After Dante overcame his psychological barrier, Class 10D's situation was back to normal. The score of Class 10D feel like duck in water, but because Kari and Dante were on a break from school for a long time, they still struggled to keep up with their classmates' progress. Dante is not a concern to me. He owns the head of a genius, so if it stays as it is, it probably won't take long, he'll be at the top of Class 10D again. But for Kari, on the other hand, learning has never been Kari's strength. Kari's advantage is his laborious and patience. As people always say, constant dripping water wears away the stone. However, just laborious is not enough. I think I need to do something if I'm going to get things into the right orbit. Today is Saturday, which is the last session of the week. I plan to invite Kari to my apartment to pass on some knowledge to him. In short, this is going to be an extra class over the weekend. I was going to invite Dante along. Even though Dante doesn't have to learn extra class as Kari, but for me, it's the same with teaching 1 or 2 students. This could help Dante get back to his position quickly. Thus, the overall achievement of Class 10D will increase again. In the 10th high school, teachers are also rewarded with a bit of money when the class they manage has a good performance in learning. More money is better, right? The school bell ended, and I was still thinking about how to start the conversation to my 2 students. I don't think that everyone, like me, likes to use their free time to learn more. Seeing that most of the students had packed their notebooks and left the classroom, I didn't think much anymore. Anyway, if my students don't want it, I can't force it. I walked towards Kari and Dante's seat. I said,
Because you have taken a lot of cut class, the study progress has been a little slow for other students. I plan to invite you 2 to my apartment for learn extra class at the weekend. What's your opinion?
Kari and Dante looked at each other, then they both agreed with a subtle smile.
Go!
I was a little surprised.
No considerations?
Kari said.
No need. But when you go home, you can't go back to the male form.
I nodded.
Okay, no problem.
Normally, I only wear women's clothes and makeup when I have lessons in Class 10D. Other times, I'm all back in my own form. A extra class may not last long, so I can keep the role of the female teacher for a while longer. That's why I met Kari's demands without thinking. Not to mention, I absolutely don't hate dressing like a girl. I have absolutely no intention of encouraging men to wear women's clothes, but if you want to try it, I think it will be a very enjoyable experience. Perhaps you will be like me, you will be surprised by the softness and comfort offered by women's clothes. You might think this is an act of losing the man's spirit, but in fact, these 2 things have nothing to do with each other. On the contrary, when you try to live like a girl, you will gain insight into a girl's thoughts, understanding the thoughts of your mother, your wife, or any important woman in your life. For me, the man's spirit is only really shown when you know how to care about the important women in your life. Back in the story, we went together towards the apartment I lived in. This is an apartment near the school that I rent. I like this place because every block is very isolated, at least no one will find out that in my apartment there is a man and a woman. Kari and Dante's facial features along the way looked very happy. I also feel unintelligible, learn extra class, what's fun about that? I also wondered why these 2 guys were bringing such a big bag to class today. Soon, we arrived. Just opened the door, Kari ran everywhere in my apartment with a cheerful look. He said,
Wow! It's full of books everywhere. Didn't you do anything else in your spare time other than read?
I tapped the Kari's head with a smile, saying,
I also teach extra class for a bad boy like you. Let's start, don't talk nonsense anymore.
Kari and Dante answered simultaneously.
Yes, Miss Deva.
The extra class went on silently. Although both of them are somewhat lacking in seriousness, at the moment, they are absolutely focused on learning. This makes me feel good. While they were doing their homework, I stopped by the convenience store to buy a few cans of soft drinks. Dressing up as a girl for a while made my gestures softer. So, by the time I got back, neither Dante nor Kari had noticed. I opened the door unexpectedly. In front of me was a sight that could not be expressed in words. They are holding one of my bras in their hands. Seeing my silhouette appear in front of the door, Kari and Dante turned over startled. Kari scratched his head, grinning.
Ha, that's a misunderstanding.
I walked over to tap in their head and said,
You too. Even a bra worn by a man like me, you two won't spare it.
Both quickly put my bra back on the clothes hanger. Dante asked.
Well, are all your lingerie that sexy?
I glanced at him.
I don't know. Is the exercise done? Why do you two have time to focus on this shit?
They give me their notebooks.
It's done, Miss Deva. Give us a compliment.
I shook my head and forced a smile. Man. These two guys are high school students anyway, how come they look like kids? I gave them 2 cans of water and said.
All right, you two are good. Drink some water, get some rest.
They both laughed and said.
Yes.
I'm not very good at expressing emotions, so I don't show any emotions on my face, but I'm also a little happy in my heart. My current life is not bad. I learned a lot during teaching progress. They are knowledge that is not recorded in books or taught in courses. I wonder, could this beautiful life last forever? After the break, we went back to study again. In addition to mathematics, I also teach many other subjects for Dante and Kari, so they both take full advantage of their time to acquire knowledge. The sky was dark in the blink of an eye. I was going to stop today's extra class and give them both dinner and rest, but they refused. They said they wanted to take advantage of the time to study. I nodded in agreement. I told them to call home back to avoid worrying their family. Because they decided to stay, I went to the kitchen and started cooking simple dishes for us.
It's delicious.
Kari said while rubbed his rounded belly. Dante nodded.
Yes. It must be lucky to have you as a wife.
I pretended to be angry.
What the hell are you talking about? When you finish dinner, you can finish your homework and go home, it's quite late.
You can't talk to these kids. Have I been playing the role of a female teacher in a long time, so gradually, they've forgotten that I'm a man? Besides, it was the man they hated so bitterly the first time they met. They hated so much that they wanted to get rid of me as soon as I got in class. I think it's a bit of a nostalgia. But it's all over now, so it's best to have a good time right now. Kari and Dante continued to do their exercises attentively. The 3 of us were very focused, so when we realized it was almost 11 p.m. At this point, I just remembered. Isn't Kari and Dante's house far away? Every day, Kari comes to school by public transport, and Dante has his own driver to pick him up. At the moment, it's hard for both of them to get home. Realizing the situation, I suggest them spend the night at my apartment and call for their family. Unexpectedly at that moment, Dante and Kari looked at each other, both with a slightly cunning smile. I asked.
What's fun about that?
They pulled out the big bag behind them and said.
We brought clothes, blankets, and pillows to sleep on. We've been asking for family since this afternoon.
I was stunned for a moment, then I said.
It turns out you two have planned to stay here beforehand.
Dante touched his head.
What a awkward.
I forced a smile. At this point, Dante and Kari gave me a black plastic bag. They said.
We have a gift for you.
My head grows full of question marks.
For me.
I didn't think much, I taking the bag and opening it. Inside the bag is a silk 2-string long nightdress. The upper body of the nightdress is sewn with lace and embellished some beads along the sides. I have a bad feeling about this. Just as I expected, as soon as I was vague about this nightdress, Kari's voice sounded.
I'm sure you've never tried to wear a nightdress before. Try our present tonight.
That's right. I'm a man, why am I have to wear a nightdress? I was going to say no when Dante suddenly said.
This gift is a thank you for helping us all this time. We hope you don't say no.
I glimpsed to their face. They seemed to be looking forward to it. Then I sighed. I couldn't say no after seeing their faces, so I finally agreed. The three of us took turns using the bathroom. Of course, I let my students take a shower first. After I finished showering, I put on a simple lingerie and tried to put on the nightdress Kari and Dante gave me. The smoothness from the silky fabric glides lightly over my slender body. I've finished putting my nightdress on. I don't feel bad, at least it's a lot more comfortable than my cheap men's pajamas. I just walked out of the bathroom in my nightdress, two guys blushing again. Why do they keep blushing? My bed is very spacious, enough room for 4 to 5 people to lie down. I bought such a bed because of the habit of working right in bed, so I needed a large space. I told Kari and Dante to go to my bed together. There's nothing to worry about, all three of us are men. While I was at school, I used to sleep in a tent with almost 10 people sleeping together at the camping site. At first they firmly refused, demanding to sleep on the floor. I don't know what they're thinking. They're a spacious, comfortable bed, why sleep on the floor? It's midnight now, all three of us haven't slept. Dante and Kari maybe feel strange, so it's hard to get some sleep. And I'm not asleep because I am planning my lesson plan that I will teach them tomorrow. When I was going to sleep, Dante suddenly asked.
Do you know why we don't want to sleep in the same bed as you?
I asked arbitrarily.
Why?
Dante chuckled.
Because lying next to a fairy is very pressure.